Holy shit, look at that DVD collection, man. Jesus Christ.
Oh, yeah. And just a few, you know.
Yeah, once you get started with that DVD collection stuff, it gets addicting.
Oh, very much.
Yeah.
So hey, first of all, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. We are, of course, talking about the King Star King special, which premieres on Adult Swim at midnight, Monday, February 13th, and it's streaming the next day on HBO Max. So,
Valentine's Day.
Hey, perfect, right?
What a special way to spend time with your loved one than watching King Star King on HBO Max.
Yes, especially if you do not like those loved ones. Just kidding. So jumping right in, I'd love to know like how the special kind of came about, because I know it's been a little while since was it the first season of King Star King?
Yeah. So I just got it was like a phone call from Adult Swim, and they're like, hey, and the first thing out of their mouth was, look, we're sorry we canceled King Star King season 1. And I was like, okay. They're like, we want to bring it back. And I was like, Jesus Christ. So what capacity? And they're like, we want to do a half-hour special. So I was like, let's do it. So, the first thing I do always is like, I pull out my sketchbook because I haven't drawn those characters in a long time, and so I started drawing King Star King like I usually drew him, and it just didn't feel right for whatever reason, I've changed a lot since then. I used to party hard when I was in my late 20s, early 30s. And I'm now in my early 40s, and I'm a completely different person, So so I started drawing him like a little overweight, which has happened to me, and a little more like with a family and a dog and things like that. And it just started making more sense, the new character design. And so I had to pitch that to Adult Swim. And at first they were like, what the fuck? But then they took a week to think about it. They're like, actually, this is brilliant. And I was like, yes. So they understood the new look of KSK, balding, overweight, and has an office job.
Yeah, and I definitely do really appreciate, that sort of change in the character. I think it makes it a little more interesting, a little bit more relatable. Again, yeah. We're all getting older. We're all, getting a little broken down.
Yeah.
So I have to say, this goes for the series and the special. I love the look of the animation style. I love how like underground cartoon or underground comic it feels. I was kind of curious if you could talk about like some of your like main influences. Were like underground comics like a big influence on the series and the special?
Sure. Like in the beginning, it was, I was inspired by different things when I first created the show back in 2012, 2013. Kevin O'Neill, may he rest in peace, he just passed away last year. He created Martial Law, which is like an underground European comic that like deeply inspired Frank Miller in Dark Knight. But I was into Christopher Forbes, who did Power Masters. He goes by CF. And Johnny Ryan was one of my inspirations too. He does a lot of underground comics. That was back then, but now it's all changed, So Greg Sharp was a huge inspiration of mine for this new one. And lucky enough, I hit him up and I said, would you like to be the art director? And he said, yes. And I was like, fuck yeah. I mean, dude, to find an art director, especially when we were staffing up, dude, there was a gold rush of cartoons being made with Netflix and Disney and like Warner Brothers make tons of shit 2.5 years ago, Now, 2023, it's a complete drought, and tons of people have lost their jobs. And actually, I get more calls than I've ever had in my whole career right now with people asking for work. And so, yeah, it was. I was very fortunate to have Greg as my art director, and Greg brings on the people that he loves, and it just like ends up being what it is, which is like some beautiful artwork and backgrounds.
Yeah, it's funny because I'm fairly new to the series. I just
Sure.
started jump diving in. It was funny because it was giving me a lot of like Mike Diana, also like the
Yeah,
like
I've been told, I'm like, my stuff looks like Mike. I watched that documentary of his. That was a pretty cool documentary.
the one
Yeah,
with by Frank Henenlotter. Yeah.
yeah. I never knew about. I didn't know much about Mike's art or career, but yeah, I guess it's just like we draw kind of similar in some ways.
Oh yeah, and not to say it's derivative, just that it's kind of gives me that sort of vibe.
Yeah, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it just happens, man. And like the cosmos of things and creativity, it just goes out in the universe, and it's crazy what like if you come up with an idea, you've never spoke about it to anyone, and then all of a sudden someone else like pitches an idea or has a cartoon. You're like, fuck, I was thinking of that very exact
Yeah.
thing. This shit happens, and it's
Oh
surreal.
yeah.
It's crazy.
So I am an author, and I've had that before where I pitched an idea and they're like, oh, somebody else is working on that right now,
Oh,
so
dude.
that's a no-go.
Yeah, I get that all the time walking into executives' offices, just like pitching ideas, like, "Oh, we already have something very similar to this, so we're gonna pass." And you're like, "What? This is
Yeah,
this is a unique, crazy idea. I came up with this in the closet in my bedroom. Like, who else would have ever thought of this?" So
yeah. Yeah, that hits close to home. That really sucks. Now I kind of love how like this is set at Christmas time. Would you consider this a Christmas special?
well, so what happened was we handed in the animatic, the very first pass of the animatic in like early last year. And the executives over at Adult Swim just hit me back right away. They're like, "This is awesome! Like, congratulations!" I was like, "Cool." They're like, "We're not going to call it special anymore. We're going to call it a pilot." And I was like, "Okay." So they're like, "But we need you to change the ending to make it seem like there could be more episodes." So I was like, "Fuck!" I was like, "I don't know if we have time for that because we're on a very tight schedule, you know." And they're like, "Well, you got to do it." So if you look, we changed the ending, which restructured the whole story, which takes about 2 months. So it was supposed to be a Christmas special, December, but with all the changes of making it a pilot, it got pushed to February, which is funny, you know. I mean, these things happen behind the scenes, and I wasn't bothered that if it came out on Valentine's Day. I thought that was great. I thought that was really cute.
Well, again, I think like it does make a kind of fucked up alternative Valentine's Day special, really.
Yeah, totally.
Now you have a terrific voice cast. Tommy Blacha, of course, returns as King Star King,
Yeah,
Will Sasso. But I'm sure you can tell, being a huge horror fan, you got Robert Englund in there.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We got Robert Englund, Andy McDowell, and John Waters, which was just like
Yeah.
three from. I mean, in my mind, they're A-list for me, and that's all I care about, you know. But this is the second time I got to work with Freddy Krueger, and it was fucking awesome. I
Nice.
mean, it's just like as far as like villains in horror, he's my number one. I mean, Linda Blair is actually. I have a top three list. It's Linda Blair, Robert Englund, and then Basket Case, but he's not really voiced by anyone. But I've worked with Linda and I've worked with Robert, and it's just he is so professional. Like you, honestly, it's just amazing how he comes into this and really cares. I mean, he memorizes the lines, which is awesome, right? He rehearses them, and this is like he comes in with his own ideas. It's just he's really cool, a really nice guy. Yeah, and he tells you behind the scenes stories of fucking Nightmare on Elm Street, which is just
Nice.
like the best. Yeah,
Yeah. How did you get any work done? I would just be
I
like,
know. Yeah,
um, yeah, and it's funny because the last time I saw John Waters like in person, it was for a Valentine's special that he was doing, he does his one man sort of monologue special,
oh,
which
really? Because I bought his CD way back when he did a
oh nice.
Valentine's special CD, and yeah, I got that. That was really cool. Wait, real
Uh,
quick, go. I understand what you're saying. Like, how do you get work done? Because I got to be honest, my very first like like A-list actor for me was Linda Blair, right? And we brought her in, and I geeked out, and I wanted to ask her a million fucking questions about all the incredible movies she's been in, and I forgot I'm supposed to be a director, and I really choked that day. Like, so I went home and I was so upset with myself, and I'm like, okay, never again, JJ. Separate the fan from the director, you know, and it's such a difficult thing to do, but you really have to do that. And it was so hard for Robert Englund, because again, like, you know, you want to ask a million questions to these guys, but you got to separate the two.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. Like, hats off. I mean, I experienced that a little bit. I had this time where I was interviewing Dan Roebuck from River's Edge,
Yeah.
and you know, we were talking about something else, and he was like, "Oh, you know, I had these great stories with Dennis Hopper going crazy on the set and behind the scenes stuff," and I was like, it was killing me because I only had X amount of time.
Right.
And I'm like, man, I wish I had like an hour, 2 hours.
Oh yeah, John Casser, the Crypt Keeper, was we had him, and I wanted the whole day with him. Like, but
Nice.
yeah, in fact, he got a little weirded out because I walked into his car, because I just like I don't you know, and again, I'll never do that again. Like he was like, what the fuck is this guy doing walking into my car? But yeah, so he was another one where it was just like so many questions. But yeah, it was really cool working with Freddy.
Yeah, that's amazing. So now you were saying about how this could possibly be like a revival series. Is that kind of what's happening?
Yeah, so it's just like, you know, now it's in Adult Swim's hands, you know, and I understand, like, it's a big ladder to get a show greenlit today is harder than it's ever been before, you know. I mean, the streaming services, it's just this new frontier of watching TV and movies. It's just money's become really tight with all the studios and networks. So I'm crossing my fingers. I would love to do more. I want King Star King to fight Joe Rogan. I want King Star King to fight Logan Paul.
Yeah.
I want KSK to go after a lot of people, and so we'll see what could happen.
Yeah, then that's amazing. Like, I would love to see all of that. It looks like I need to wrap up, but I was wondering if besides, you know, trying to revive this King Star King, is there anything else you're working on that you can talk about at this point?
Yeah. I'm working on another pilot for Cartoon Network for children, and we're going to be done with that in March. So that should be dropping pretty soon for the public to see. It's called Scaredy Cat, and I'm so excited because, like, I started off my whole career working at DreamWorks for 5 years on Shrek 3, Shrek 4, Monsters vs. Aliens, Peabody and Sherman, and Trolls. And so, like, it was good to jump back into kid stuff, you know, especially as me being the creator, I get to do what I would love to see as a kid. So it's so exciting. I can't wait for you to see that one, Mike. And if you do, like, yeah, we should talk about it, and I'll get Cartoon Network to send it to you, you know, and we can have another conversation.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the great interview. I